No matter how good of an instrumental mix you have going on, nothing is going to sound right unless you've properly EQ'd your vocals. And the human ear is trained to concentrate on the voice more than any instrument, so it's important to make sure that aspect is the most sonically pleasing. Sibilant S's, muddy low end, and unintelligible vocals are a way to guarantee your track isn't going to be well received. But today is the day we put an end to all of that nonsense. By the end of this video, you'll know the most powerful EQ moves for vocals to ensure that you're delivering a high quality product. So what's happening, fam? Me here with JST. I actually got a JST shirt on today, you know. And if you didn't know this by now, I'm mainly a vocalist in metal. Don't forget pop punk. Also rap, we got all the plugins, they think that we and pretty much every genre in between. So no matter what project I was working on, I always had to make sure my vocals sounded the best that they could. And there are just certain things that come up and they aren't genre dependent. Certain things I found myself boosting and cutting regardless of the style, so bear with me as we take this step by step. We have to mention the beginner stuff too, because this might be someone's intro to vocal EQing and I'd hate for them to miss any steps. The low end roll off. People that have been here for a while are like, are we really doing this right now? I feel you, but like I said, we have to go step by step, and the first thing that we're going to want to do with any vocal is roll off the low end. This is giving us unnecessary low end and sub information. On that subject, I have some info for my subs. I love all of you, and for anyone that isn't subscribed, I just don't feel the same way about you. I'm sorry. But you can turn that all around by hitting the subscribe button, notification bell, and like button. My transition game is still crazy. Back to low end roll off. Let's take a listen to a track that doesn't have it and find the sweet spot. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Notice the difference that makes. Now, let's say you're working primarily in R&B and hip hop. This can sometimes even go all the way up to 200 hertz, 250 even. Pretty crazy, right? But as a rule of thumb, we usually shoot for 100 to 150. 300 hertz, the empty pocket. What's interesting about this frequency is that pretty much everyone hates it. When do you ever see anyone boosting 300 hertz? Like, never, right? And that's the perfect reason to use it. Since people cut here so often, mainly in metal and rock mixes, it actually makes a pretty decent pocket to boost if your vocal feels a little hollow or nasally. Just remember not to overdo it because it can easily become the thing that people hate, which is a bunch of boomy low mids. 5K, bringing vocals to the front. If you feel as though you're having issues with the vocals blending in too much to the instrumental, one of the simplest fixes that I've seen is a nice healthy boost at 5K, or in that area. I'm pretty sure I noticed J Moss doing this quite a bit in the past, and after following his example, I always noticed it brought the vocal right here. And unless you're doing some type of ambient melodic thing, that's typically what you want, right? And this isn't just for rock, it works well in rap as well. This is just where the presence on the vocal happens to live. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. 8K. The money frequency. This is the frequency that makes vocals sound expensive. You know why they call it 8K? Because it sounds like an $8,000 vocal chain. Let's make it rain. Oh my God, let it go. That was actually $8,000 and I'm gonna have to pick it all up. Ironically, I guess this is the opposite of the empty pocket frequency. But speaking of this $8,000, I think it's time for us to do a giveaway to my checking account. This is like all the money that I have right now and I don't got it like that. Back to the subject. When we hear a vocal and wonder why it has that glossy sheen, it's because of what's happening at 8K. Boosting this area almost never sounds bad and is perfect for SSL styled EQs. You just have to decide if you want to do a bell or a shelf to add more air to the vocal. Try with a couple dB and see where it gets you. Don't be afraid to mess around with it. Actually, let's take a vocal and mess around with it ourselves.
Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Yeah. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Yeah. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Yeah. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Yeah. Breaking free from a memory, the last one I have of how things used to be. Yeah.
Once again, such a difference, right? Crazy what a little twist of a knob can do to get your vocal chain rocking. 1K to 3K, vocal intelligibility. Let's take a look at this area. When you fought with a vocal and it's up front and sounds polished, but you can't make out what the person is saying, you might want to look at this range. This area is most associated with being able to understand what a person is saying. It's extremely useful because our ears are tuned to be attentive to this area to make out human speech. Ever hear a vocal that when you're EQing it solo sounds perfectly fine, but when you add the song in, like, all of the diction disappears? It could definitely benefit from having a nice little boost in this range. You're going to have to sweep around a bit to find the right spot. It usually is somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5, but it can be a little above or below in unique cases.
My heart's bleeding on the shelf and the damage has been done. I hope you had your fun. I hope you had your fun. Bleeding on the shelf and the damage has been done. I hope you had your fun. I hope you had your fun. My heart's bleeding on the shelf and the damage has been done. I hope you had your fun. I hope you had your fun. My heart's
400 to 500 hertz, vocal mud. When you have a vocal that sounds muffled and can't find any means of clarity, cutting it in this area will almost always find you well. You know how I said you can use 300 hertz as a pocket? Yeah, that's occasional, but that will never work with 400 to 500 hertz, or it hasn't for me at least. That area just doesn't really do anything for vocals, and you'll find that in most cases, a nice cut here will allow your vocal to breathe properly. If you feel as though it only happens sometimes, don't be afraid to try dynamic EQ or multiband compressor instead. You don't want to cut too much of the area because you can thin out your vocals, and make sure to be careful.
I had a dream we could change the world. If it was me and you, we could start anew. I had a dream we could change the world. If it was me and you, we could start anew. I had a dream we could change the world. If it was me and you, we could start anew. I had a dream we could change the world. If it was me and you, we could start anew. I had a dream we could change the world. If it was me and you, we could start anew. I had a dream we could change the world. If it was me and you, we could start anew.
The 12K shelf. And one more tip before you head out. If you did the 8K boost but decided to go with the bell instead of the shelf and feel like it could still use some air, don't be afraid to do another shelf boost at anywhere between 12 to 14K. Just remember that if you go this route, you should probably do a high cut around 18K because it can become too much and you might not notice it in your listening environment, but it can be quite agitating to others. So let's go over all of these one more time. The low end roll off. 300 hertz, the empty pocket. 8K, the full pocket, or the money frequency. 5K, bringing vocals to the front. 1 to 3K, intelligibility. 400 to 500 hertz, vocal mud, and of course, the 12K shelf. There are obvious small surgical moves that you can make to a vocal, but these are the most powerful EQ moves to take your vocal track from amateur to professional. Just remember, just because you've seen these doesn't mean you need to do all of them. You have to diagnose your source material and any problems that you might have in your track. Audition some of these to see if you have a sudden moment of clarity, and it's possible that this might unlock the only thing that's stopping you from achieving your perfect vocal mix. Are there any areas that you feel like I missed? Which moves made the biggest difference? Let me know in the comments below and we will chat about it like we always do. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. You only have to do it one time. And tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Until next time, I am out of here. Mic drop. Except as engineers we know, I'd never really drop this thing because that get really expensive, even if it is a piece of sure. Later.